it's his plate discipline that drives me absolutely crazy. And I think there was one at bat where he whiffed in 3 or 4 pitches tonight, and it was the out pitch was on a high fastball, and so I mean he just has to work the counts a little bit better or adjust his approach, to get the balls in the strike zone for him to drive it, murder the ball like you guys are talking about. Pablo Sandoval had some of the worst plate discipline I've ever seen, and Devers isn't that bad, but it's still bad. And
no, yeah, his plate discipline definitely needs to be needed 100% better, and I think it will get better. I don't know if it's not going to get outrageously better this year, right? It will get better over the off season,
but it's already better since he came off the DL.
Yeah, it's better since the beginning of the year for sure, and he's not Joey Gallo bad. He's not Chris Davis bad.
Yohan Moncada.
He's not Moncada bad, who leads the league in strikeouts, by the way, with 160-something at this point. He, his OBP is, not great, but he's also hitting 242. He's not hitting 210. If Devers was Joey Gallo right now, hitting 210, 206, with, only 16 home runs and an OBP of like 240, then I'd be really concerned. But I definitely am concerned with the fact that his lack of plate discipline, but I think it's gotten better, and I think it will get better. I openly admit it will not get drastically better this year because that's more of an off-season and, longevity thing where a whole season goes by. It's like, he got better. You look at your splits from April to, September, and you're just like, oh, wow, obviously got better. And then off-season, working on it, come back spring training, adjust, and then boom, he's back. So he'll get there. And, I'm not entirely worried, and he's looking pretty good for a 21-year-old, to be fair. 16 home runs, batting 242 on the year, and, getting there, 93 hits in the season, so almost 100 hits.
Yeah, and Eovaldi tonight, we were kind of talking about before we came on, scuffled a little bit. I mean, I think we were kind of spoiled a little bit with his first 2 starts where he was just phenomenal. And, I think he's kind of moving towards like a middle ground, so to speak, where he's kind of moving towards his normal baseline, I guess is the best way to put it. And still a pretty solid outing. And like we were saying, if it wasn't a National League park, he would have went at least one more inning. So would have been nice to have some run support because, I mean, he's pitching like a middle of the rotation pitcher now, which is what he is. And against good lineups, he's definitely going to need some run support because, I mean, Porcello's been consistent, very, very low hit games. He had a 1-hitter, against New York. I'm just going to give him a pass for Toronto because they just know how to hit him for some reason. And then, with last night he had a 2-hitter. So Porcello's the type of guy who can win those low scoring games, but Eovaldi, I'm not so sure. So
can we talk about his start real quick tonight, though?
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitter today. It's like, oh, that was a bad start. It wasn't a bad start. Sure, they hit him pretty well. I don't know what it was. I think you said 7 hits.
7 hits.
Something like that. The cutter wasn't exactly what it was in his first 2 starts, but it was better than the last one. So we have to take a little. We have to realize that it's getting better, and it's not nearly as bad as it was in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten better. It was definitely better than the last time, right? But he gives up hits. But the thing about Eovaldi is he gives up a hit with 2 outs, and it's a single, and then he gets the next guy out. Or he gives up a leadoff hit and then retires the next 3 in order. So I'm not really scared that his average, his batting average opponents against him is 270 right now, because those hits don't turn into anything. That's why he's such a dominant pitcher, especially at the back end of a rotation there. And that's why he has all this potential, and he's had all these Tommy Johns and still throws 97, 98, and teams keep signing him and trading him, is that he doesn't even, I'm not even going to say limits the damage, because there's no damage to limit. He gives up a hit, an inning, and that's it. And since he's joined the Red Sox, he's 2-0. He's got a 1.99 ERA, and that's with 4 games started, 22 innings. He's struck out 14 and only walked 3. So he gives up a hit, doesn't walk anybody, and he strikes people out. So I'm not worried. His whip is a 1.19. To put it in perspective, David Price, 1.20. Rick Porcello, 1.15. Right in the area of, and Erod, 1.22. So either better or right in the area of the other dominant starters on our team. You take out Porcello's starts against the Blue Jays, he's been on fire this year. Even David Price, with his 2 abysmal Yankee starts, still at a 3.75, and I'm sure that's going to get lower. And then you got Sale, who's just, on another level. But Eovaldi for your 4th or 5th starter is lights out right now. For your 3 starter, he's really good. So if this is what we're going to get out of Eovaldi, 5-6 innings with 1-2 runs every time, I mean, that's unbelievable. And that's someone that you can start in the postseason, or that's someone that can be your David Price in the bullpen. Because if you're going to run David Price as a starter, which at this point doesn't look awful, even though I still think he's more effective in the bullpen, Eovaldi coming out in the 6th inning, 5th inning for a Porcello or Sale after like a medium start or a shorter start sounds great to me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Erod will be back. It sounds like maybe within a couple weeks he's on the verge of a rehab start. And it's just so... The postseason right now, it's just impossible to figure out how they're going to line everything up. I mean, Sale will go game 1, and I mean, if Price isn't... Well, I guess you could go Porcello game 2 no matter what, because you're guaranteed a game 3. So if they are going to pitch Price, then as a starter, he could go game 3. So it's just, who do you go with, Erod or Eovaldi?
Or for what? Maybe the bullpen or for...
Well, that's actually the better question might have been which one of the two, Erod or Eovaldi, would settle better into a bullpen role, but could the opposite one justify that by... Could Erod justify Eovaldi being in the bullpen and give you quality starts in the postseason?
I think Eovaldi, just because he doesn't throw a lot of pitches, is the better bullpen option. Out of, him and Erod. Erod throws a lot of pitches, so if you use him in the bullpen, you might not be able to get him 2 days in a row, where I think Eovaldi, you'd be able to get him 2 days in a row if you needed them. But the only problem is how good Chris Sale is. You don't want a 4-man rotation, and if we do make it to the LCS or the World Series, because you're taking away from Sale. And then you can always skip a start if you need to. Say Porcello or Price have an okay start in the DS, right? I don't know, maybe 5 innings, maybe 6 innings, 4 runs, right? Something that's all right, not awful, not a quality start, but close to it. And then, game 2, the next time he's on the mound, whether it be a game 4 or a game 2 in the LCS or something, same thing, 6 innings, 4 runs or 5 runs, another not that great start. Well, the next time he comes up in game 6 of the LCS or game 2 of the World Series or something, that's when you can say, you know what, Eovaldi or Erod, you're in. And I think that's really good because it gives you a lot of flexibility. And because these guys can come out of the bullpen, Eovaldi, Erod can come out of the bullpen, you're not wasting a postseason roster spot with them. They'll be effective and they'll be used. And with a manager like Cora, who I think is really smart and will do that, they'll actually get used. So it's really pick your poison with it, but I don't think Erod makes the postseason roster unless Porcello or Price dive bomb the next 2 months. I'm talking the next 6 weeks, 8 ERA, something outrageous, which I don't think will happen.
We also don't know if Erod's going to come back and be Erod immediately. I know he's taken a long time off, but you think he will be?
No, he won't be. No one ever is, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I don't know, though, because he tends to be okay in the month of April, and even into May. He starts the season off okay, so, but granted, you do have spring training to kind of ease your way in, and, he's only going to have 1 rehab start, but I don't know. I don't know. And Johnson still...
He'll definitely get a couple tests because, of the vaunted, September schedule that we have. So we'll see what we got between the two of them. And we'll definitely know by, I think, mid-September who's going to be starting that Game 3.
Right, and the other thing to keep in mind, too, is Price maybe as well, but Sale will have they'll skip a start, with him. So, so that's when the E-Rods and the Johnsons are still going to, be in the rotation. And, so, I mean, I don't know. We have a huge monkey on our back in that, none of these guys do have a win. And I think, David, that I'm just trying to think back to previous years, but I think it actually is pretty common to use 4 starters in the ALDS, the 5-game series. I know in 2013 we did, because it went Lester, Lackey, Buchholz, Peavy, closed it out in Game 4. And then last year they elected to start Porcello in Game 4. And I don't think they used Sale in Game 3 in the Pfister game, because I think Price, that was when he pitched 70 pitches of relief. He went at least 3 or 4 innings. So
they used Sale in Game 4.
Yeah, so we used, and that was a Hail Mary situation. That's just desperately trying to get to. That's John Farrell trying to save his job. Really, is what that was.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it's out of the realm that we won't necessarily use 4, but it's just
I don't think so either.
It's just so open right now, and still, I guess, too early to figure it out. And last year we couldn't even figure out who our Game 3 starter is, so obviously we're not in that bad a shape. But so
no, we're in a good spot to have right now where we don't know who our third starter is because we have so many good ones, right? But I don't mind using 4. We've used 4 in the past, but if it's 2-1, right, in the series and Game 4 is out, I just want to throw Sale, to be completely honest. And the reason I want to throw Sale there is because it's Chris Sale, A. B, if you lose, you got Game 5, but, you're throwing your best pitcher. So if you lose Game 4 because Porcello starts and Sale has a bad outing in Game 4, well, probably would have had that in Game 5 too. And it also helps for the next round, because if we win it in 4 and the other series goes 5 or another series goes 5 and you get those extra days of rest, Sale can start Game 1 of the next series too. Yeah, so for me, for a team that hasn't won a few series in a while, as your tweet pointed out today, how dominant Chris Sale's been this year, how we're limiting his innings. He is at 146 innings right now. Porcello leads with 151, and Price is behind with 134, and he missed multiple starts this year. So we're really limiting Sale's innings as well this year. I feel like you want to throw him as much as you can in the postseason.
Yeah, and there's tons of scenarios. I mean, that could very well happen. Here's one for you. Remember how Madden managed, I think it was Game 7 of the 2016 World Series. Remember Hendricks was just rolling, and he took him out and went with Chapman?
Yep.
Does Alex Cora make that same move, or does he let his starter ride it out for a little while?
I think you let the starter ride it out.
That's what I'm hoping. Because I don't want him managing on paranoia, and we haven't seen him do it yet. And I guess by most indications right now, he would let him, keep pitching.
Well, mind the pun, obviously, but we don't want him micromanaging. We don't want him, just going off a reaction oh man, this could go south really, really fast. Let's do this. We want him to manage like he has been all year. And if we do that, I think we win more baseball games than if he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to overmanage or try and be the smartest guy in the room. He doesn't give off that vibe, and he doesn't seem to care like that. So I think he'll be fine. And if a situation like that comes up where, it's the 7th inning and Sale's got 90 pitches. He hasn't given up a run yet. It's game one of the ALDS. I don't think he's going to take